God, it was hot. There was something to be said about the splendor of a nice cloudy day. They didn't get them often on the desert side of Mars. Clouds were few and far between, and rain was considered an anomaly. She imagined it was what the deserts of Arizona felt like back on Earth. It wasn't humid, only relentlessly hot. The sweat dried on her skin before it could cool her down properly. 20-foot walls of metal scrap only worked to raise the ambient temperature. The sun's position meant all the shade was on the other side of the wall, and so were most of the other scrappers. That was how Nomi liked it. Following the shade and fighting over scraps didn't interest her. If she were as big as Ralph, the thought of a fight wouldn't have bothered her one bit. Yet at 5'5" and 120 pounds, no one took her seriously. At least, not in a physical altercation. She could be scrappy when she had to be, but mostly, Nomi liked to think her way out of problems. When violence ensued, it meant all thinking had failed. There was only one thing violence led to: more violence. She reached up and adjusted her bucket hat. Not the most attractive piece of clothing she owned, but it kept the sun off her neck and ears. It wasn't like she was out in the scrap looking for suitors. She couldn't imagine starting a relationship with someone. Until she had a work permit and a way out of the slums, any normal life was off the table. Kids and a family were out until her life was more stable. The most selfish thing she could do was bring a child into this world when she could hardly scrape enough food together for herself and the big guy. Kids. The thought was almost laughable. Nomi shook her head and returned to the pile in front of her. Scrap was reliable. The heap always provided. Maybe not enough to earn her a way out, but enough to keep her belly full. Think about the positives. That was what the self-help app on her Digi would say. Tonight, she'd have a full belly and a place to sleep. If she could get rid of the relentless heat, everything would be fine. The heat was making her cranky today. When Nomi felt moody, her mind tended to turn dark. She was working on it. Like her long-sleeved shirt was doing its best to retain some of the sweat she was leaking. Salty white patches spread across the fabric already. It was that kind of day. Might as well make the most of it. With enough effort, she might not have to come back for weeks. Then she could spend her time studying on her Digi.